Thank you, Dr. Khalil. I would like to introduce the third keynote chair, Professor Nasaruddin. Please welcome
Yes.
Professor Nasaruddin.
Honorable, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to the third keynote speaker, IC COSITE 2021. I will serving as your moderator in this session. We will have a presentation from our keynote speaker, Dr. Hammam. Before we get started, I would like to introduce Dr. Hammam to all of you. Dr. Hammam holds Doctor of Engineering DG in Electrical Engineering from Bandung Institute of Technology, Master of Science in Computer Science from University of Kentucky, USA, and Bachelor in Electrical Engineering, majoring Electronic and Control System. He holds a position as Executive CIO and Director of Center for Information and Communication Technology at the Agency for the Assessment and Application of Technology, Government of Indonesia, which serve various ministry and agency of Indonesia government. Now, moving AI, ethics, standard, and sustainability. Assalamualaikum, Pak Hammam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Well, Pak Hammam, time is yours.
All right. Thank you, Professor Nasaruddin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good morning to all of you. And I wish you the best health that you have, everybody, at COSITE. And I would like to thank the organizer of COSITE for inviting me as a keynote speaker at this very prestigious conference. So, as have been introduced by Professor Nasaruddin, my name is Hammam Riza, and I am currently the president of the Collaborative AI Research and Industrial Innovations, Association, which is CORICA in short, and also after leading the Agency for the Assessment and Application of Technology, now I have moved on to the Principal Chief Engineer position at the National Research and Innovation Agency, or BRIN. And I would like to share with you rather not very technical AI, but how we should be implementing AI and how we should consider ethics, standard, and sustainability in order for us to be leading in the implementation of AI. In the global AI race, Brookings Institute have much to say about this, really. Who leads the AI by 2030 will lead the world by 2100, right? And much of the US artificial intelligence discussion revolves around the futuristic dreams of both utopia, something that you dream of, right? And dystopia, something that it is very difficult to realize that. Yeah. So if you are looking at from one extreme to the other extreme, the promise range from solutions to climate change, which is something that are part of our sustainable development goals. Yeah, everybody in the world will talk about this. And going to the super intelligence, which leads to the robot apocalypse. Yeah. President Joko Widodo says, siapa yang memimpin bidang AI pada tahun 2030 akan memimpin dunia, katanya. Dan saat ini the global race is basically between US and China, which are putting AI really into their developments. Yeah, you can see many companies coming out of US and many more from China. In fact, you can see China AI development plan. It is the number 6 from the 69 national priority. It is going to be AI made in China by 2025. Yeah, you can see how China is really competitive, starting with how they gain the world leader, in number of research, in the number of patents in AI, number 1 in investment of AI, in the numbers of AI company, and even more, the number 2 largest AI talent in the world. Yeah, this is in 2019. I believe these numbers are really sustaining, or even more, they lead the world. If in fact you can see in the news that a lot of the US, something like this here is the Pentagon official resigns over belief China has won AI battle, heading to global dominance. Right. So AI, artificial intelligence, as part of the smart futures, as we are talking about, the human-centric technology, and this is really human-centric technology, because AI wants to mimic and simulate the intelligence of a person, of a human, and many people have put AI into their national strategy in order for them to have a pathway, to have a roadmap of leading the world in the coming years. So you can see in the world supremacy in terms of AI strategy, many have started earlier, even earlier than 2017. You can see the strategies coming from Singapore, which was announced in May in 2017. Even the UAE, have had the AI strategy for 2031. And now we can see, even after a couple of years, more and more countries are trying to really come up with our AI strategy. So how about Indonesia? Are we ready to take this technology for our smart future, for the betterment of Indonesia as the leading countries in the world? Yes. As you know that we are targeting in 2045 the 100 years of Indonesia independence. 100 tahun Indonesia merdeka, Indonesia emas. We are targeting number 3, largest economy in the world. Can we achieve that? That's going to be the challenge for the young generation of Indonesia. All the participants here mostly are being part of this take up of this endeavor, of this goal of taking Indonesia as a leading country? Well, Indonesia is not too far away of producing the first AI national strategy, which is orchestrated by Quad Helix. Yeah, we've seen here even Universitas Syah Kuala, USK, is part of the Quad Helix in academic, business, community, and government. Yeah, we have 11 research institutions, 11 universities, 6 association community, and 9 industry, including startup such as Noteflux, Kata.ai, Tokopedia, Bukalapak. Yeah, all these are part of the industry, the AI industry, right? And in doing this, the Indonesian National AI Strategy, which was launched by the President and the Vice President, seen here is the Minister of Research and Technology, Professor Bambang Brojonegoro, and myself. We launched that on the 10th of August. Is the use of artificial intelligence technology that aim to increase productivity in businesses, to increase productivity from investment efficiency in human resource and utilization. So they are actually a foundation if we are talking about how to implement AI in Indonesia. And on this occasion, I would like to highlight on the ethics standard and the sustainability issue as the basic foundation of building the grand design toward Indonesia Grand 2045 vision. And this particular focus area we call, yeah, including the research and industrial innovations, yeah, that we need to create an ecosystem for collaborative research and innovation to accelerate bureaucratic and industrial reform. And we look into data infrastructures, and we look at the AI talent development, right? But at the bottom of this grand house, okay, is the ethics and policy. That's why I like to take this opportunity to share with all of you about how we build up the ethics and policy in Indonesia for AI. Yeah, artificial intelligence is ethical in accordance with the values of Pancasila as Indonesia ideology and related regulation. And based on this ethical principle and legal foundation and regulation that apply to AI, policies to manage AI human resource, digital infrastructures and data, and the national AI research innovation ecosystem will form the main pillar of our national AI strategy. As you know, AI is a human-made product. AI cannot have rights and obligation. And actually, every AI program, software application that we build is not a legal subject, really. Yeah. So how do you regulate this development? What about if somebody build AI to actually do hacking and shut down the whole electricity and create chaos in our society? Will this program be subject to a legal issue? Or is it going to be an ethical guidance that will hinder people from creating such program? And because it is not a legal subject, legal responsibility for injury, rights, and obligation is charged to humans as developers and operators. It is humans who cause AI to injure the rights and obligation of legal subjects. And because it is human-derived product, that the supervision that is carried out is human-centric. Yeah. by ensuring that the AI surveillance is focused on humans. So the human-centric technology, including AI, we know all this technology is actually created by human to be used by human, yeah, and it has to be regulated by human, right? So this is why we see that Indonesia should come up with an ethics and policy to basically, take the whole Indonesian people to adapt and adopt artificial intelligence. So in Indonesia ethics, sorry, this is in Bahasa. I can say, if you look at the, that we are devoting to God, humanity, beneficial, safety and security, scientific truth, okay, transparency, accessibility, respect to local tradition and wisdom, as well as the sovereignty of our country. This will be the main ethicals for Indonesia AI. Okay, and if we see that, are we ready with the regulation in carrying out the AI? For example, we have a long list of actually regulation that were meant to be part of implementing AI in Indonesia. Take, for example, the law on information and transaction of electronics. There is a government regulation on the operation of the electronics information system or services, yeah, and the ministerial regulation, for example, for the security, yeah, information security. There is also the data privacy regulation coming up, because it's still in as a draft, yeah, for this law, and we want to take the national AI strategy to become the presidential regulation or presidential directive, okay, and many others, yeah, related AI regulation. But are these enough to really guide AI in Indonesia as a basic foundation of our journey, yeah, toward Indonesia 2045? So if you look across the border and see many other countries, ethics and trustworthy AI is the mainstream of establishing artificial intelligence. I will say the power for us of each country to be able to develop the industry using AI, building the AI company, building the talents, yeah, it has to refer to ethics and trustworthy AI. It refers to public interest. It's going to ban harmful AI research. You have to add the responsible element in artificial intelligence, yeah, and minimizing the bias, yeah. You don't want to bias for whether you are a male or female, or you are old or young, okay. AI should help in neutrality toward everyone. So this is what we need to establish in ethics and trustworthy AI: fairness, reliability and safety, privacy and security, inclusiveness and transparency and accountability. Yeah. And if we try to look what our other countries are doing, take for example these 7 key requirements for trustworthy AI developed by the European Union: human agency and oversight, technical robustness and safety, privacy and data governance. Yeah, this is what I would like to say more about in the next few slides, and I want to bring your attention on how this ethics and regulation for implementing AI should consider at the most about privacy and data governance. Transparency, diversity, societal and environmental well-being, and accountability. You can see the 7 key requirements to achieve trustworthy AI based on EU agenda. Yeah, and if we take a deeper look into privacy and data governance, then we will try to say, do we have a data governance in Indonesia? Data governance is the practice of identifying important data across an organization, ensuring it is of high quality and improving its value to the business. So it will be different if you say about government data. How about if your data in Peduli Lindungi is being hacked and turned over to the black market of data? How about if your data is leaked to the criminal organization, cyber organization? Do we have the data governance policy for this about ownership, accessibility, security, quality, knowledge? And you say we are very, very aware and very adept to this particular aspect of the technology, people, process, and technology, right? So if we look deeper into data governance, then you will think about data quality, data availability, data usability, integrity, and security. And what is a data steward actually? Data steward is an organizational role responsible for enacting the data government policy, right? And data stewards are a typical subject matter expert. Yeah. So who is responsible actually with a specific business function? If you are a government institution, you know which data can be publicly available and which one is qualified as a secret, a government secret. Okay? You cannot get data from the National Intelligence Agency, for example, from BIN. You cannot, right? So we have to have this data governance, yeah, to ensure the fitness of data elements and compliance with regulation. So what is so important for AI from this data governance? So you might want to look to basically browse, a lot of information. Take for example, managing data is critical for your AI success. Like starting an AI project without checking your data first is like building an F1 race car without understanding what quality, type, certification, or sustainability of fuel you want to use. So when you talk about data governance in AI, then you will think about all this CIA thing, confidentiality, integrity, availability. Yeah, you will look at data security, data loss prevention, data integrity, and many things. And if we do the privacy and data governance correctly, then data governance is critical to the success of AI transformation, AI implementation. Then we will fill in the blank, for the whole industry, the AI industry in Indonesia, in order for us to have a better economic value of adapting to the artificial intelligence technology. So my next few slides is actually a research question to all of us. Are we sustainable enough to create a value and demand-driven AI business model? AI programs that are designed based on values as the driving motivation for the related quad helix that I say earlier, mostly in the form of aggregator and share economy models that start from demand. We need to have sustainability in activities that are managed based on centralized digital application for scalability, user experience, and sustainability traction. Yeah, and the activation of the entire quad helix. Yeah, because the national AI strategy of Indonesia have implies or implicated that quad helix, academic, business, government, and communities as a medium and to create the value and demand driven business model. This is why KORIKA, the Collaborative AI Research and Industrial Innovation Association that I'm chairing is formed to have a self-regulatory on ethical of implementing the AI, legal by market. You cannot come up with your mad science or crazy ideas of having an AI program developed by the students of Universitas Syah Kuala, for example, that will go after many application with nomor induk kependudukan, with our national ID, something like that. And then this AI will target the people, their banking accounts or their medical record, yeah, and then put something and tamper with the whole system, for example, for testing, tracing, and treatment of COVID-19. Yeah, and if you tamper with the servers at Garuda Airlines, for example, putting your vaccination that you are actually getting Sinovac, but since you are going to Europe, that you need Pfizer, and this AI program will look after this information and try to change so that you can go to UK because they only accept Pfizer, AstraZeneca, and Moderna vaccines. Yeah. So all of this, we need to regulate ourselves. Yeah. In ethical clearance, in trustworthy AI, that you believe that this AI give you the best solution, the best recommended decision. Yeah. So this is where our proposition, whether it is to the academia and the general public or to the industry, yeah, where we have the data set, computation, power, supercomputing, and other things related to the government requests. Yeah. This should come into one open platform. So KORIKA is community driven. It is meant to be a sustainable response to the need of our AI development in Indonesia, and this will be one of the milestone for all of us, yeah, to even get better with the current situation. It is in our less contact economy, less contact society, and we need digital transformation even more, yeah, with Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, and robotics as part of our journey, yeah, to become world leader in Industrial Revolution 4.0. So thank you, and see the coming up Artificial Intelligence Innovation Summit this coming November. And I wish you all the best. And again, thank you, Rudin, and the whole organization of COSITE. Taufik
Thank
walhidayah.
you.
Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi. Thank you very much, Pak Hamam, for addressing these exciting topics. Now, I would like to invite the audience for the question. Please raise your hand. I think from Pak Yuda. Please, Pak Yuda.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Nasaruddin. First, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to Dr. Haman because this, I believe, Stranas KA or strategy nation is something that really important as a foundation to build the next the document as a blueprint. I believe this is very important. And also, I agree with you about the ethic and trustworthy AI. That is something that maybe not something that is not really become priority for other if we compare with the others. But yeah. I think that is something that quite important. My question is about the quad helix. We have the academics, we have a business, we have a government, and the government, it has already a core with the Stranas KA. I believe that this can be a blueprint, and the government can go with that. And I think this is one contribution from BPPT, and it is it helps the government to find the goal in the future. In the future, but what about the community? Because we have academic, usually it is a research-based approach, and we have a government is more about the governance kind of approach. We have a business in more profit-oriented, right? But the community, I think this is also part of the quad helix that not being seen as an important with the other quad helix. Do you have any suggestion, maybe how the community can be part of this quad helix and can give more contribution for the development of the artificial intelligence in Indonesia?
Thank you for the question, Pak Nurdin. Korika, as the quad helix orchestrator, is as I earlier mentioned, it has to its business as an association with fairness, fairness to all. So not only a government helix or academia helix or industry helix is the most important for Korika, but also the community. Yeah. So in this case, maybe I can show you one slide that I didn't say earlier. Yeah. So we want to have all the community be part of our main program. Yeah, which is really we want to have the development of artificial talents. As you know, the Ministry of ICT have a target of creating 1 million AI talents. Yeah, or I'm sorry, digital. Yeah, is these digital talents can be specialized in robotics, or it can be specialized in cloud computing, for example, or they are specialized in any of the technology necessary for digital Indonesia as part of the digital transformation of Indonesia. So we want to push, Korika wants to push, it's a hub for everyone to join. We can identify all the talents, even more from the communities, from the association. I'm talking with, for example, the Indonesia AI Society, IAIS, led by Pak Lukas, for example, from Atmajaya, that we want to gather the community into Korika. Now, we don't see this as a silo. That's why it's much important not only to say quad helix, but orchestrator quad helix, because Korika wants to be the orchestration of many of the sector in human resources, whether the talents come from the government, from the academia, from the industry. For example, we are building AI for tsunami early warning system, which needs an intelligent application to basically read the sensors from earthquake, and then from the sea level, to basically come up with an algorithm that say there is a predictive model that after this earthquake, there is a potential of tsunami going to hit area, for example. Those algorithms are IDs and are composed into the AI Maker Lab, where we explore and research. And this can become the source of creative idea, innovative idea, that we can then build up all the requirements to build human-centric application to basically put this into the downstream of innovation, which is commercialization. So we will ask the startup companies, creative, do the commercialization from start. Take for example, if one startup company is needing some laboratory and supercomputing facilities, in order for them to develop the prototype or first version of their algorithms into really industry standard algorithms, then they come to Korika, and we do challenge together, and certainly a lot of VC will be part of our membership in Korika, without any requirements of paying members fee or something like that. It's just an open innovation platform, shared infrastructures and shared ideas, so that we can build the stronghold of AI in Indonesia. I think that should answer Pak Nurdin question. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Amam. Any response or feedback from Pak Yuda?
Thank you very much, Dr. Haman.
Okay, next, I will invite Professor Muhammad Ashraf for the question. Please, Prof. Ashraf.
Ya, Assalamualaikum Pak Hamam. Okay, it's a very nice.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullah.
So I just wondering, okay, this is I'm coming from the academia. So our focus is more towards increasing the accuracy so that we got it published in the journals. So while the goal for the industry is to produce a working prototypes, means for the business or the profit of the business. So how do you align the goals? Okay, for example, our goals for sure, we want to publish as much as possible papers, but it is not aligned with the goal of industry, because sometimes in the industry, 95% accuracy is more than enough. So you switch your focus towards a different one, right? Maybe for the optimization of the systems. So how do you align all the not the contradicts, but yeah, it's a different parts of the things in AI into a streamline, into a working condition of the AI. Okay, that's my question. Thank you very much.
Thank Professor Ashraf. Yeah. So your question is very interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting because the core of this question is how you orchestrated AI into really a pipeline, I will say. Yeah, yeah, not streamlining, but putting AI and then put it into the pipeline. Yeah. So in this case, we have to have one regulation, a very strong regulation which we can refer to, and we are in the process of doing that. Yeah, as the first draft I mentioned earlier, that this national strategy of AI is being pushed toward the president. So the president will issue perpres, peraturan presiden, or presidential executive directive, executive directive to accelerate AI in terms of doing all the 4 focus area and then the 5 big areas, including health, food security, reform, or e-government, you say, or even famous for all of us now. The new term of e-government is sistem pemerintahan berbasis elektronik, and education and innovation, and research, and the last one is the smart city, smart mobility. So this 5 area is main priority of implementing AI based on the sectors that we have look at, the Making Indonesia 4.0, for example, Pak Ashraf. Making Indonesia 4.0, you are looking at electronics, automotive, industri kreatif, creative industry, fashion, and many other things, But we cannot take the whole agenda into our priority area because of our limited. We want to focus on a specific area. So with this 5 priorities area, we hope we can synergize and orchestrate all the development of AI by building the focus area. For take example, smart mobility. Smart mobility means that are we going to use AI into our cars, or what kind of transportation that we are going to put into our new capital, IKN, and all these are supported by the government as the prioritas riset or prioritas strategis nasional priority project. All these are being aligned to choose actually how we should orchestrate and pipeline the whole of AI into our life. And we are at this presidential regulation will basically, in pipelining and mainstreaming artificial intelligence into various applications being used by Indonesian, by our country, by our government, by our community, and it is going to be researched by our academy, yeah, and also the industry will pick up those research to become really competitive products, yeah, and services. I think that should answer Pak Ashraf. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Pak Hamam.
Okay, because of time constraint, and also we have one more keynote. Thank you very much again for Pak Hamam for the informative and interesting talks. And we hope we can discuss again directly in Aceh in the next time. And thank you very much for the audience for participation.
Sure, Pak Professor. Also part of UNSIAH, Pak. UNSK, Pak. Sorry. Yes.
Thank you for the attention. And back to MC. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you so much. Yeah.